Nuuspot. Die tuiste vir Afrikaanse stories agter die nuus.
Hi, Issa, can you see me? Can you hear me?
Ladies and gentlemen, I have in the room the president in waiting. Hello, Herman.
Hi, good morning, Isaac, and good morning to your listeners.
Are you well?
Well, just really working hard, fearing the collapse of our beautiful country because of this corrupt, unpatriotic, and caring government. So we're doing everything possible to wake people up to understand that they are voting for this government or non-voting. It's really putting this country at a very, very serious risk.
And I'm watching you on social media, and I must say, I can see that you and your party is really putting in some of the footwork there all across the country.
Yeah, well, I think we're, Isaac, to be honest with you, and I'm not a prophet, as I've always said, honestly, if this corrupt, unpatriotic government is going to be in the government, South Africa is in trouble. Because there's just no way that South Africa and an ANC can coexist in one space. So one has got to die, and it can't be South Africa. So it is for that reason we've got to work hard to remove them and confine them to the dustbins of our history. Otherwise, South Africa is going to become another failed African country.
It's just, I think there's a lot of parties and a lot of people in South Africa echoing the same sentiment. What is your experience while you are going through the country? What do people say? Are they tired enough of this government?
Generally, people are very, very angry. They just unfortunately don't, majority of our people, particularly the Black people, don't understand the power of democracy, the power of their votes. So what they do, they tend to stay away from voting because they're under impression by not voting, they're punishing this government. In the meantime, the challenge we have is to get them to understand the power of democracy. Obviously, democracy is new in our country. So people are used to live under someone's government. In the meantime, we live in a democratic dispensation where people can actually understand that their vote can actually determine their own future and the future of their own children. And that's the project that Action SA, we're working honestly around the clock to ensure that we can wake as many people up as possible.
Like I said in the beginning, I can really see on social media that you guys are putting in some hard work and that you're going all across the country. How many branches do you have at this moment, Min? There's quite a lot now.
At the moment, we up to last week, we had 52% of the wards covered by last week. So actually, this morning, this afternoon, I'm going to be having a Senate meeting. We'll get an update, but we're really pleased with the work that our activists are doing out there on the ground. Just imagine, we are only 3.5 years old party, but we're not a small party. We're a huge organization with structures on the ground in all the communities. 52% by last week, and I know, and I've been on social media every day, people opening up branches.
I must give that to you. That is true, that you have made quite an impact up to now. You've got some impressive politicians in your camp. I'm thinking of people like John Moody, Ethel Trollop, Sobi. They are really impressive names in your lineup.
Well, I think if you look at it, for the first time in the history of South Africa, where a political party announcing their shadow cabinet ahead of elections. It has never happened before. As you're aware, about a month ago, announced an impressive set of shadow ministers. Someone like Dr. Hosi Litlape, well-known doctor in the country, someone ethical, so Limueng, Peter Scribante. These are real powerful South Africans who had never been in politics before, managed to really get them on our side to play the role. Dr. Tutu Faleni, the lecturer at UNISA. These are people with impeccable credentials outside the politics who are saying, Mashaba, we are prepared to come and assist you. Because at the end of the day, honestly, one thing we cannot afford to take as Action SA to bring in experienced politicians, experience in stealing, like the ones that you get from the ANC. So we need real experienced people who've really created something, who have really done something. Because if you look at a political party like the ANC or EFF, these are people with no experience of anything than just talking, singing. The only thing that they know is singing, disruption and destruction of companies, of the country, because that's what they were trained to do over the last 30 years while fighting apartheid. And they've really demonstrated, given an opportunity to be in government in the 30 years, so look at the damage they've caused to our country. So I think we need to really change this culture, but we need the voters behind us to ensure that we can bring about a peaceful transition of our country.
And then, of course, there's the one other person in the party, and that's that Herman Mashaba guy. No, seriously, if I think about someone like Athol Trollip, clearly believes in you and he's defending you around every corner. John Moody believes very much in you. You've got a jewel in Solly Muheng there. Hell, that should make other parties very jealous that they put their alliance with him and Mashaba and say they believe in him.
Absolutely. I think, I remember 2 years ago when I called and flew Athol to come and talk to me. And initially he was reluctant to say, Herman, I've had enough of politics. And I said, Athol, have you really done enough? I mean, all of us, honestly, we need to do something to save this country. And your kind of experience is really what South Africa requires. And I'm glad that he accepted and is doing an amazing work. Honestly, Athol is one of the most hardworking human beings I've come across. A patriot, a real patriot, what we call the son of the soil, not these criminals, these corrupt, evil people. So I think, yes, absolutely, I really feel blessed. But it's been my nature, Isaac. I've really been trained from birth to surround myself with competent people. My success in business, it did not really happen by chance. It happened because I'm not scared to surround myself with people who know better than I do. And that's why I was extremely successful, still so. It is for that reason I can leave my business with my wife and our staff to run our various businesses for our families, and gives me the opportunity to serve my country.
Okay, and enough with the compliments. We have to ask some critical questions as well. But I must say, my look from my observation, especially at the beginning, was that there was a lot of bickering between Action SA and the DA that seemed to have subsided a little bit, and that a lot of the big differences have been shifted aside for the greater cause. How do you think about it?
I think that is true, and I think for us as Section SA, we were very, very unapologetic about our stance because please, we want South Africans to know that if you go into a coalition, you don't go into a coalition to go and continue with the ANC tendencies. When we're in a coalition, we must have the courage to hold each other accountable. And that's something that the DA never appreciated in the beginning. They thought by being in coalition with them, they can get away with murder. And we saying as Section SA, no, we're not in coalition to not hold you accountable. We will hold you accountable, and we expect you to hold us also accountable on the same standard. Absolutely, we are not saying that we've got to deal with issues in the open all the time, but we will engage you first privately to say we are not happy with this. If you are not prepared to accept it, rest assured that Action SA is not going to cover for anyone, because I've been trained and it's in my DNA. Isaac, I don't want anyone to protect Herman Mashaba, and Herman Mashaba is not going to protect you. So, Isaac, when you to go into a relationship with me on anything, please, so don't expect Herman Mashaba to cover your nonsense. And I don't expect you to cover my nonsense. And I value friendship. I'm not in this business for friendship. I'm in this business to serve my country. And I'm not going to compromise the future of my country by covering other politicians. It is not going to happen. And it looks like the DA is now beginning to realize that when you work with Action SA, work with Action SA with respect, mutual respect and dignity. If you are not prepared, you must know that there will be a fight. And we are not going to apologize to anyone about it.
Are you happy with the way the multi-party charter is going?
Well, I think so far the last few months, it looks like we're on the right track. But unfortunately, Isaac, I can't guarantee the commitment of other political parties to this process. I can speak for Action SA. Action SA is 200% committed to the multi-party charter, because the multi-party charter, one of the clauses of the multi-party charter that got us to commit to this is that we will not work with the ANC under no circumstances. There's no way that Action SA will be associated with a criminal organization. So I think so far I can only confirm our commitment as Action SA to the multi-party charter. In the last few months or so, it looks like we're on the right path. We're just over a month to these very important elections. I think let us focus on getting more and more South Africans to vote for any party in the multi-party charter. For us as Action SA, we do absolutely want to really get outright majority. But is it achievable? I think we will be smoking something. We're saying that it is for that reason we are committed to the multi-party charter, and we hope that no one is going to let us down in this regard, because the spirit of that agreement, we feel morally bound to it.
Does that mean that even when the multi-party charter is not able to get the required amount of 51% to make a government, that you will still stay committed and still take up what is available to you in that context?
Isaac, tell me, going to a coalition or a government with the ANC, second sitting of parliament, we table the Pala report on US dollars under mattresses. Tell me, if you're in government with the ANC, what must we do? Must we cover for the ANC? I mean, that is what it's actually going to really compromise us. So we're not prepared to really be compromised to really cover illegal, evil things. Just imagine going to a coalition with the EFF at national level. You are dependent on compensation of land without compensation. Or we must, they must tell to us that we must nationalize banks. So honestly, for that reason, for us as Action SA, we are saying to people of South Africa, we'd rather be on the opposition benches. But people of South Africa, the voters, you're the ones who can actually make a difference. because more than half of you are not voting. Come out in your numbers, vote for us so that we can avoid this catastrophe. Don't expect us to commit to work with the ANC. Don't commit us to work with the EFF, because it's an impossible ask that you're putting us under. Whereas it is so easy. Go out in your numbers, go out and vote. If you come out and vote in your numbers, ANC and EFF and others will never see a day of light getting anywhere close to 50%.
Talking about a coalition and working together with other parties, there's also the question of working with the PA of Gayton McKenzie, which some parties like the DA say they won't work with him. I know I've heard your party saying we should maybe consider it. What's your stance on that?
Well, I think I just want to really put it on record. For me, as a resident of the city of Johannesburg, we now under ANC, EFF, corrupt government in the biggest metro in Johannesburg, compliments of the DA, because DA has refused to support us to remove the ANC and EFF out of Johannesburg. We understand and we respect the DA. We said to the DA, if you don't want to really be part of a complex government, we respect your position, but you cannot really tell us that you are unable to support us on an issue-by-issue basis, because the PA, I can tell you, if DA, even tomorrow or today, if a DA can give us the permission to work with the PA, and we say to the DA, you vote with us on an issue-by-issue basis. You know, in a democratic dispensation, when you have a minority government and you are dependent on one party to vote with you on an issue-by-issue basis, you know how powerful that that party is. We put in the DA in a very powerful position to say, hold us accountable, because when we work with the PA and there's nonsense, you'll be the first one to us, you know, because no report will go into council without your permission. No one can get involved in corruption without you actually bringing it to the attention of South Africans. But for honestly, it does not make sense. It'll never make sense for you to say, no, you'd rather have ANC and EFF in the government of the city of Johannesburg. It's really quite disturbing. It's a very, very unfortunate. DA let them give another excuse as to why they are not interested in us working with the PA to remove ANC and EFF in the city of Johannesburg.
But can you trust Gayton?
I trust the Gayton more than I trust DA. I'm on record on that. When we talk about trust, I'm not in the business of trust, Isaac. So if, let's say, we must now talk about trust. Honestly, I'm on record and I can put it on record. Between the two parties, I trust the Gayton than I trust DA. And I'm prepared to work with them, because at the end of the day, we don't have the numbers to form government on our own. So DA must not come and talk about trust.
But the reason why I'm asking is I'm thinking, for example, of the EFF in Tshwane, how difficult they make the life of the coalition. The one day deciding to work with the coalition, the other day working against the coalition.
But look at Tshwane today, because in Tshwane, we can co-govern with the DA without the ANC and EFF. We don't need them in Tshwane. Even we've got the numbers on our own. The DA, Freedom Front Plus, the ACDP, and so forth. We've got the numbers. That's why we run in Tshwane under very difficult circumstances. We're protecting DA to make sure that...
And it looks better in Tshwane lately, ne?
It is improving. Obviously, in the beginning, the first mayor that they put was a very, very arrogant person, and we worked towards his removal as Action SA, because he was such an arrogant mayor who was under impression he was running the city of Tshwane as if he's got a 2/3 majority. We've got a coalition agreement. He will tell us openly he's not going to respect our coalition agreement. It is for that reason we had to get him removed. At least the new mayor is now treating us with respect. It is not his way or no highway.
Are you happy with Silje?
We're working reasonably well with him. He's showing respect to us, and that's all we want, so that we can jointly work with the residents of Tshwane. We know DA has been running the city of Tshwane for since 2016. So majority of some of the, not majority, some of the issues they've got to take the responsibility, but we are prepared to really work with them and ensure that we can prevent Tshwane from an ANC EFF government, and we've succeeded in that regard. And Silas is really showing some maturity in his administration.
Herman, one of the big criticisms against you from the parties that criticizes the Action SA is the party stance on illegal immigrants. Criticizing you and saying you have too harsh a stance against them. Are you happy with the criticism? How do you feel about illegal immigrants? Have you changed it lately?
In fact, Isaac, from day one, when I raised this issue of undocumented illegal immigrants in this country, our stance is still 100% the same. Remember when I raised this matter in 2016, including ANC taken to the Human Rights Commission, and the Human Rights Commission, after months of investigation, I had a press conference at the Human Rights Commission saying, but people who says Mashaba is xenophobic, but everything that Mashaba has articulated, it's in our constitution, it's in our laws. We are not for illegal immigration in this country. This country, as I've always maintained, was built at the back of migrants, and we must continue bringing people of the world to come to South Africa, but they must come here legally, and when they're here, to respect our laws. We cannot afford to have a situation where undocumented illegal people are in our country. They go to an extent of assaulting our police, damaging police vehicles, going to a police station. It should be total disrespect to our law enforcement agencies. You can imagine an undocumented illegal criminal going to go and assault our police at a police station. What is that? You know, assaulting our police. You are actually assaulting the nation, the sovereignty of our country. So people who accuse me of being xenophobic, they are actually criminals themselves. I'll call them criminals. Because how do you expect me or any self-respecting nation to allow criminals, and they must be protected? Action SA is not going to protect criminals. We will deal with them and deal with them decisively. We are not going to apologize to anyone about it.
It's becoming a global problem. How do we ever start to handle this? Let's say you are in. Let's say it happens that after the 29th of May, Herman Mashaba becomes the president of this country, or the one a minister that can decide about the fate of illegal immigrants. How would you handle it?
We will immediately, with immediate effect, set up within the police, within Home Affairs, a special task team that is going to deal with this illegality. Anyone found to have acquired South African citizenship illegally, that person must be immediately arrested, and upon finishing their sentence, they must be sent back to the countries where they came from. We must immediately ensure that we make it easy for people of the world to come to South Africa, bring in investments into our country, to come and invest in all these factories that the ANC government has closed down. Industrial area, we need international investment to come and invest and open these factories, employ our people, but don't bring money through mattresses and sofas. We want the money to come through the Reserve Bank. Anyone bringing money through mattresses and sofas, that we don't want such money in our country. So we need the required skills that can help us rebuild this broken infrastructure by the ANC over the last 30 years. That is what we will do as a country. But we will never allow international drug syndicates to tell us they're bringing us rescues, skills of drugs. We don't need drugs into this country. It's not a rescue. These criminals, we will deal decisively with them. We will never show any mercy towards criminals in this country. We are not going to. South Africa will be one of those countries where the legality is not accepted and tolerated.
I want to put another thorny issue on your table, and that is the one of the criticisms from conservative circles against the DA is their view on LGBTQI plus rights, gay rights, and then saying that the party is not putting Christian values up front. How does your party handle something that might seem trivial to others but important to a specific group? How do your party feel about it?
Our party, it's not about Christianity. I'm a Christian and a proud one for that matter. But as Action SA, we committed ourselves to working with anyone who believes in God, because it doesn't mean for me as a Christian, I'm better than a Hindu or a Muslim or a Jewish. So what we are saying as Action SA, and we are unapologetic about this, as long as people believe in God, because God is a foundation on all of us. We need to really understand that we need to coexist. If we can come out with our own beliefs and we think it is our belief or no belief, I think we'll be making a terrible mistake. For us as Action SA, that's why we are saying, if you look at our approved policy, which we approved in September last year, that when we come into, South Africans give us the mandate to be government, we'll bring God back into our schools. Unlike this communist who hate God, we will bring God back into our schools. When our children start school from grade R up to matric, every morning before they start school, they must go to assembly and ask for God's blessing. And how you ask for God's blessing, use your own values. Whether you're a Christian like me, proud one for that matter, you're a Muslim, you're a Hindu, you're a whatever, or any other, as long as you believe in God. But as Action SA, we are not going to force atheists, those who don't believe in God. We are not going to force them to believe in God. It is their own belief. We are not going to believe to be against them, but they will never impose their system upon us. So we will coexist with them. If they want to go to class without praying, it is up to them. But they are not going to bring the evil spirits into us and force us, like the ANC government has forced us to forget about God. God is going to come back here in this country under Action SA.
The discrimination against people with other sexual preferences as part of a religious belief, how will you handle that?
We will handle it. It's in our approved policies. We are prepared to coexist with others. You know, Isaac, and I want your listeners to understand, if you want to cause instability in the nation and you create unnecessary conflict, that's why you want to push your values on others. What we are saying as Action SA, we will respect the right of anyone. If you want to really live your own particular life, as long as you don't really impose it on me. Because I will not want to impose mine on you. So we're prepared to really live with and respect others if they want to live their own particular life, as long as they do it within the law and they respect the rights of others.
Going into this election, we are very, very near. It's barely a month away. Herman, how do you are you confident that this election will be free and fair?
Well, that's what we hope it is going to be. We've not really had a major hiccup in the last 30 years of our democracy. We know and appreciate to remember in 2021 how we were treated as Section SA, with the IEC refusing to put our name on a councillor ballot paper. But overall, our elections so far, they've been free and fair, and we don't really expect anything different. Can we guarantee it? Unfortunately, we don't run IEC. We don't have law enforcement agencies which are compromised. ANC government over the last 30 years, they've really compromised our law enforcement agencies. They've taken the powers from the police to independently prosecute without any fear of favor. We're not in control over that situation. So it is impossible for me to say we will have free and fair election. We are hoping, but we don't really have anything or that is of concern to us that we are not going to have free and fair election. But one thing I want South Africans to know, do we trust the IEC? As a Section SA, we are saying we don't trust the IEC, but it's got nothing to do with how elections are going to to be run. Why we don't trust them, it is for that reason we are asking South Africans, let's ensure that we have party agents in every station, so that in every voting station, to ensure that ANC or anyone else does not really play any games. So we're going to be vigilant, because if you work on trust alone, that's when we will make a mistake, and we are not going to do this.
How do you feel about Jacob Zuma's appearance on the political field? Reappearance.
Well, Isaac, I believe in our constitutional democracy. If Action SA could 3.5 years ago can start their own political party, I don't really believe anyone has got to really be denied that opportunity, as long as whatever they do, it's within the laws of our country. So Jacob Zuma, as much as he's destroyed this country, the laws of this country allow him to start his own political party. We honestly, for us as Action SA, it's a non-issue. What we are concerned about is that is he operating within the laws of our country? If he's operating within our laws, he can go and start 10 other political parties. It's none of our business. We focus on what we as Section SA can do to go and do our work and convince as many people as possible to vote for us as a political party. We're the only political party fortunate enough with evidence of our electoral support coming from all South Africans. No political party in this country has got this electoral support across all South Africans. And that's something we are not prepared to compromise to anyone. If you are looking for a racial party, you are most welcome not to give us your vote, and don't please waste our time. And I'm sure you see me all the time on social media when people want to put us into a racial corner. That is something personally as Herman Mashaba will not accept, because I believe all of us, we are a creation of God. God expects us to coexist, and I want to coexist with the like-minded creation of God. I don't really concern myself about the gender, the race, or anything else. I concern myself with the values of people. And South Africans have got, in this country, we've got good South Africans. Isaac, I don't know if you're aware of my own personal background during the dark days of this country's history. As an industrialist, I worked with all South Africans when the apartheid government made it impossible or difficult. I beat them at their own game. So it is for that reason I will never accept any policy or association with any party that is obviously does not really want to really unite us and coexist as a nation.
Herman Mashaba, leader of Action SA. thank you very, very much for talking to us.
Very much appreciate it, and let's hope and pray that we can deliver free and fair election, and we can usher in a new prosperous South Africa to avoid South Africa being another failed African state.
Thank you, Herman. Keep well. All the best.
Thank you so much. Much appreciated.
Nuuspot. Die tuiste vir Afrikaanse stories agter die nuus.